Okay, DM, my favorite skill. Tell me everything I need to know about Path of Exile 2 and what's happening like I'm a child. Breastfeed me.
Okay, we got a few things to talk about. 0.2.0 is the next major update coming for Path of Exile 2. They're starting to put some teasers out,
Numbers.
including 2 new unique items that they have posted are coming to the game with that update. They also mentioned in a previous post about some of the more major points that they are trying to focus on as some of the biggest problems for Path of Exile 2 right now. There is a
How about classes? I'm kind of excited about classes. At this point, it's acts and classes that are the most exciting.
free cosmetic you can earn in Path of Exile 2. Actually, I'm eligible for it. You can watch my live stream today. I'll be live as of the posting of this video, and you'll get a free cloak in Path of Exile 2 if you watch for a number of hours and link your account on the Twitch down below. All that and more. Let's go ahead and dig into what I expect to come in the next major update. Okay.
Dude, the Twitch drop system is honestly such an unbelievable scam. It really is.
Okay, first things first, they showed 2 new unique items on Twitter. Last night, they just put these out there. And the first one's kind of interesting. First of all, this sort of looks like the Gladiator helmet, if you've
Wait, but this is already an existing item, isn't it?
seen the artwork for the Gladiator in the
Revealed to him. Whoa!
game. And if you look at this, armor and evasion. Okay,
That's
so
big.
there's a hybrid base. Now it has increased armor evasion, accuracy rating, life regen, can't use chest armor, which is a absolutely
Chest armor's for pussies anyway.
enormous negative. And the reason it has that is it has a pretty good benefit of you can wield two-handed axes, maces, and swords in one hand. And it looks a little bit like the Gladiator helmet from the Gladiator Ascendancy from PoE 1, which is not in Path of Exile 2 yet. And he doesn't wear a chest plate in that Ascendancy either. Or at least not visually on, the image of the
Is it yet?
Ascendancy. Now, one of the things they stated is not only are 6 new classes still coming to the game with 6 new, weapon types, but also there are 6 new ascendancies coming for the classes we already have.
Oh, that is big, okay? Everyone loves ascendancies. I love ascendancies, okay? Path of Exile, one biggest problem was, if you're a Path of Exile player, you know that ascendancies are not classes. Classes are not classes. There's no such thing as a class in Path of Exile 1. We're gonna see if that holds true in Path of Exile 2 after a while, though, because Zoom 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 is already kind of part of PoE 2, which I don't like. I like slower, methodical gameplay.
There's supposed to be 3 total ascendancies for every class, 12 total classes, 36 total ascendancies. So that means Warrior, Ranger, Sorceress, Monk, all of the original classes still have another ascendancy coming, and this could be tied to the Gladiator. So maybe it's a tease that a Gladiator ascendancy is coming to the Warrior, perhaps, or maybe it's part of the Duelist, or maybe it's not a tease at all and it's just a helmet. Now, the next one's kind of interesting. We have a higher physical damage unique mace with only 11.
Gain a random shrine buff every 30 seconds. Huh. Kinda neat. Imagine with... dude, isn't that a little bit OP with 2 of these?
Level 65 requirement. So this isn't too bad of a mace just in terms of a physical damage output. Here you can see it's 325, 488 before quality or sockets, but then it has 10% reduced attack speed.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, we're kind of doing the reduced attack speed on something that's already slow, but it has some cool other passives. 10% to all LE res.
At some point in Path of Exile 2, reduced attack speeds are going to be removed. I have been right about absolutely the majority of these things that I called. Potions gonna be back as you know them. There's not gonna be like, oh, only kill monsters and shit and get potions. Now that's bullshit. Skills that force you to move in a direction, especially the backwards direction. Bam. Things that are just in general slow, completely yeeted, deleted. And, something like this, reduced attack speed, is not going to work out. The reason that they are putting reduced attack speed, by the way, on these items is because they don't want Path of Exile 2 to just be the same endgame technically as Path of Exile 1. But again, it's zoom, 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 30 seconds, finish a whole map. There you go. One shot, everything, and there you go. They don't want that. They don't. And these are trying to get games attempts at actually normalizing stuff and making it more methodical.
is all right. 50% increased mana regen is okay. But then you have gain a random shrine buff every 10 seconds is actually pretty
Oh, it's 10?
cool, especially if, buff duration will increase this buff length and then it doesn't account for the fact that it's every 10. Maybe you can get over 10 seconds so you can start stacking these. This one's actually kind of interesting. And maybe if you pair this with the helmet where you can wear multiple of these things, then you're basically getting 20 all res and you're getting 20% admittedly reduced attack speed. But then you're also getting 2 random shrine buffs, maybe that pop up every 10 seconds. So kind of interesting uniques. Now, if I go
Probably.
full warrior copium, what does this mean to me? Mesa, they're teasing new warrior ascendancy, the gladiator.
I mean, yeah, anyone who's not using a quarterstaff in some way or shape or form is an idiot currently. It is what it is.
The duelist, and they're also teasing mace rework, but probably not. Because we're going into, once 0.2 comes out, over 3 months into the game, I would expect to see something major coming out with this update. We'll be looking at something like, a new class at a minimum. You have to keep in mind, we're 3.5 months, 6 to 12 month release date, 6 new classes. That means we need basically a new class every 2 months. So we would want like 1.5 classes effectively, or some new ascendancies for the base classes that we have, plus a new class, a new weapon type to stick to sort of that 1 year timeline that was originally stated. Now, that's just on the content side of things. I actually have a whole list of things I would really love to see. I posted this a while back on Twitter. These are some of the things I would love to see in some of the next major updates. I think additional crafting systems. I put this right at the top. I think this is one of the things that Path of Exile 2 actually really needs. I understand there was this concept.
No. Dude, the crafting systems. Okay, the moment they start adding new crafting systems in like 3 months, it's gonna be overbloated.
Of we want loot that you are actually using to be acquired basically on the floor.
Again, I have talked about Path of Exile multiple times, and one of the biggest issues with Path of Exile 1 is if you don't want to just follow a guide that tells you everything, you need to spend 3 days on Wikipedia reading literal light novels of how to properly craft, play the game and shit, and how things interact with one another. It is insanity. So they're not going to add that many crafting systems, or they're going to add them very, very sparingly. New content is going to be new in ways that it feels completely different or offset off of already existing things, most likely. Otherwise, again, you're going to become Path of Exile 1, and then there's no point in calling yourself 2. You're going to literally meme yourself into becoming Overwatch 2.
Floor that you can get a drop that can be really good and doesn't require you to learn 50 different systems about the game. However, you go back and you play Path of Exile 1, even Diablo 4, both of these games have significantly better crafting systems. Like basically any other game, Last Epoch has some sort of crafting.
I don't know about that, Chief. Like, Diablo 4 doesn't even have crafting as far as I'm concerned.
System.
Like, what kind of fucking crafting are we talking about? Insert item, press button, and then one of 4 random things gets increased? What? That's crafting. That's upgrading. That's not crafting.
And in Path of Exile 2, it's basically just...
Tell me if Dude, again, I don't believe Diablo 4 even has crafting. You know what you can craft in Diablo fucking 4? Elixirs that no one fucking uses.
Gambling. I mean, you're just going to chaos orb something. I mean, let me put it this way. How many times has this happened to you? You get a really good item that dropped on the floor. Maybe it's 4 affixes, maybe 5 affixes. 3 of those affixes are pretty good. 1 or 2 of them have a chance to be chaos orb. So you're like 1 out of 3, and if you exalt it, maybe you got a bad stat. So now you're 3 and 3. 3 of them. It's a coin flip basically that you could hit something and make the item effectively better. And you could say, well, DM, well, how about omens? You could go out there and you could get one of the omens that makes it where it forces on the suffix or a prefix. So let's just say that all of the suffixes are bad and all the prefixes are easy, just to make, or perfect, just to make the conversation easier, okay?
Okay.
Those omens are not only massively expensive and quite rare, but they basically don't exist in the...
Yeah, but that's kind of the point of them. If you want to craft and make... Okay, so Path of Exile is trying to make crafting a little bit more difficult Okay, I shouldn't say more difficult. It's already difficult in the monetary aspect and game time aspect of Path of Exile 1. There's a reason in Path of Exile 1 people who sold mirrorable items fucking were rich and all were real money traders. Because that's just making the perfect item is ridiculous and stupid and should not and should probably require you to play the game like it's your job.
The game. And then that, let's not even forget, if you're talking about early game in Path of Exile 2, it's not
Because remember, if you make perfect items acquirable easily to the average person, you're effectively making perfect items the only items that matter in the game. The moment you take the bar and lower it, you have lowered it for forever. It's never going up. It can only go down.
worth it to invest into an item like that. Like if you get an item at level 50 that's quite good in the manner I'm talking about, there's no reason to invest a late game amount of currency. In fact, you probably don't even have remotely that much currency to get one omen. To gamble on an item is probably worth one exalt in the open market, literally anyway. And you would have to use the currency exchanger, which is a non-SSF mode. If you're playing SSF, well, you can't craft literally anyway until you can find the omens, which again is a late game thing. So crafting basically doesn't exist in SSF.
Yeah, yeah. That's not a problem, though, in my opinion, honestly.
Or doesn't exist in even trade unless you're in ultra late game and happen to be rich. And at that point, you can spend the same currency, basically just straight up buying an item that's better anyway. So in its current state, no matter what form you are of playing the game, it's not that good. But let's go back to the item example. So you have perfect prefix, horrible suffix. Omens aren't really being used for the reason I've stated. And you have a coin flip. You flip the coin flip, it hits, the 50-50 on the wrong side of the coin, and now you have basically a completely worthless item. Does this sound like something that sounds fairly familiar to you? And breaking items should exist, but you should have methods of honing down and making an item better. And that can come.
I mean, that the irony of this, he's already talking about the method to hone it down, okay? Because if you allow it to be honed down more and again made easier to do these processes, we're literally talking about the state the copy paste fail of Diablo 4. Remember Diablo 4? At the start, people legitimately used white items. Then white items became useless, and you sometimes equip blue items. Then blue items became completely useless. Now you only wanted yellow items minimum. And now we're at the point where not only yellow items are useless, but the upgraded version of yellow items, aka mythics in Diablo 4, are also useless. The only items that are not useless are ancestral with literally 4 prefixes. Okay, 1 prefix minimum. But knowing how Blizzard is stupid, they're probably going to make it that, soon it's going to be only 2 prefix mythic ancestral items are going to be useful. You see that? And that's what happens when you make things more acquirable. You're just deleting the things that came before. So if Path of Exile 2 does this, they're just gonna make it so only perfect items matter. And if only perfect items matter, and you can only make, and they're really easy to get, that means nothing that you do until the late game matters at all. And it already kind of doesn't matter, as DM's saying right here. So that's a problem, okay? The reality is, if you want to do these things, if you want to go for a perfect fucking item in PoE 2, you better be a goddamn fucking streamer that's playing this game for 40 hours a day. Because that should only be accessible to these people. That is what we call a high bar of entry. And it should exist, in my opinion.
Come through.
And no, I am not a sweat that's gonna ever play Path of Exile for 40 hours a day. If my life depended on me playing PoE 2 for 40 hours a day, I'd blow my own brains out.
One of these other additions such as new in-game mechanics or basically league mechanics that can arrive in some of these games. I'm sure we're going to get an economy reset, probably some sort of pseudo league in 0.2 would be my guess, as they want to bring players back into the game, and that probably will require an economy reset at this point. And very often they implement league mechanics with that sort of thing, and some new crafting systems could come within that. They've also mentioned they want to update things like the current league mechanics to make them better, so greater essences could be improved. The omen issue I'm mentioning could be, be more frequent, or maybe there's a way to target farm.
Greater essences, if they get improved, that's just the essence crafting is essentially has always been kind of easy mode crafting for a lot of shit. So improving essences is just kind of like making the experience of a lot of early game players better who don't really know shit. Because again, Path of Exile 2. There is a chance that you're level 2, you go to a shop, find a fucking blue quarterstaff, and congratulations, you're level 70 and you still haven't found an upgrade. It can actually happen.
Most of the rituals, so they don't necessarily have to implement new league.
Okay, wait, extremely overblowing that, but you kind of get the point.
Mechanics to make the system better. They could just juice up and hone down and improve the quality of life of some of the systems that are already implemented into the game. And this would also
oh no, this is now Lost Ark language almost.
improve the crafting within the game. Now, one of the things they've been doing that I hope they continue to do is adding quality of life, like being able to see the citadels outside here was a very nice quality of life added in the game. And if you didn't know, up here, there's a map legend. This has been in since the start of the game. You can click here and it'll show you what these actually break down as. One additional quality of life I would love.
And Elon Musk couldn't figure this one out. Damn.
To see his ability to click right here and type. Like if I want to type in any of these legends.
The fuck is that sound? Kidding. If this video does not get uploaded, I blame DM.
They've had this nicely here. I could type in, okay, well, what about unique map? And I type in them right there. And then it would be like a Control F search where I can basically click through all of the different iterations I have on the map. And it would go to those nodes. Or I could maybe even click and highlight, like highlight map boss, highlight irradiated, highlight breach. So I want map bosses that are irradiated with breach in them, and then it will highlight those ones and again let me cycle through them. It's small additional quality.
Yeah, that's nice.
Of lives like this. I love that they're continuing to do these types of things, and I hope they continue to do it because quality of life is something that's desperately needed in an ARPG, as anytime you run into irritating things, they can be quitting moments if you continually have that irritating moment over and over and over again. So I think they've done a pretty good job at improving the quality of life generically, and I hope they continue to do this. And of course, meta rebalancing. How many times have you seen builds include Herald of Ice and Herald of
Yeah.
Thunder? That's like half the builds right now because it's the way of automatically screen clearing. So I am assuming that in 0.2, we're going to see a significant rebalancing of the meta. Now, I thought about this, and I think that 0.2 is going to be very interesting because it's going to tell us one of two things. It's going to tell us either they want the game to be like Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder, in which you're very strong, you scale up, you're popping the maps, or they want it to be closer towards the beginning of mapping where it's a little bit slower and you're not just immediately one popping everything. If they nerf...
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Him talking about this wants to make me a Hoovy build, okay? What's it called, the item? I remember, I forgot, but the one that you can just... It was not expensive, it was a meme, and then someone figured out a build that you can literally kill Uber bosses with it instantaneously. Hooves of Avarice or something like that. I don't fucking remember what the name is. But it was the boots that just effectively did a fire damage when you walked. I don't remember what they're called, but I fucking loved those. And then someone had to ruin it for me because that I play Flicker Strike, but that's the second thing I kind of adore a lot, honestly. And yeah.
Down Herald of Ice, like the Stat Stacker, Spark builds. These builds are really kind of destroying literally everything, and they tune it down to be significantly slower across the board from a ceiling of power perspective. Then we know, okay, well, they are, they wanting the game to be a lot slower in the end game, effectively. They don't like this power level of players. Something else they might do is they might raise the floor of the power up and give people more options that are similar to this style of Herald of Ice.
No, that would be bad, because that means you can effectively just buff Herald of Ice and that other thing by just adding something new that's OP.
Lightning, Spark, etc. There might be with new skill gem additions, because again, we got 6 new classes, 6 new applications of skill gems with new weapons, etc. We're going to see a lot of new tech introduced into the game, and we could actually see a lot of new tech similar to the Herald of Ice added that could add the variety in it. I've thought about this, and often I wonder, I think it's two things. I think one, people don't like seeing the screen clear immediately with just one tap, and that's fair enough feedback. But I think another portion of it is it's really the lack of variety that annoys a lot of people when it comes to things like Herald of Ice and seeing Spark for the millionth time. It's because there's only a certain number of builds that currently do this screen clearing, and when you're doing hundreds of maps in a row, you're going to want to screen clear very quickly. Why would you purposely run a build, unless you're Karn, I guess, that's slower on the screen? You're playing warrior all the way to level 100 or something like that. You're just going to run a class that's faster because you're farming some currency or materials or what have you. So they might add new additions to actually bring the floor of the power level up. But the 0.2 will be pretty important because we'll kind of get a look into the mentality of the new skill gems that they're bringing to the game. Are they going to make maces faster? Or are they going to add more weapons that are similar to maces? Are they going to nerf Herald of Ice to be much less of the power level as it is? Or are they going to bring up some of the other Herald, maybe Herald of Ash, or etc.? Are they going to bring up some of the power level of some of the other?
Again, if you just now you need to nerf this, okay? The ideal scenario is you buff things that are underpowered, but you nerf things that are way overpowered. And in this situation, is like, okay, if you if you don't nerf like Herald of Ice and you buff something else, you're just effectively adding something that could be used in conjunction with Herald of Ice to be even more OP. Not a good situation unless you want a rampant super inflation power creep.
Abilities. So 0.2 is going to be...
I mean, we're playing Path of Exile 2, not Venezuela 2.
Kind of letting the cat out of the bag in terms of how they're feeling about the in-game balance, because we haven't had a major rebalancing yet. To give credit on Path of Exile 2, after playing Path of Exile 1, I've got to tell you, I very much more so enjoy the current socket system in Path of Exile 2. Having to go back into
Fuck the socket system in Path of Exile 1. Anyway, that was our boy, DM 10 out of 10. Bye!